So hello everyone, welcome to day 6 of the 60 day 60-minute challenge. We will be continuing on with unit 1 as discussed yesterday. Just give me 1 minute. I'll be right back. So we are back and yeah, let's continue learning. After day 7 we will do a review of all the topics we've covered till in 7 days. So we'll move ahead with communications. So we'll start right into it. Object of communication. The primary objective of communication in business is to facilitate the effective and efficient exchange of information that supports the achievement of organization goals. Communication serves both strategic and operational functions. They help align efforts, decision making, and ensure productivity. Key objectives of communication: establish and disseminate goals, develop and share plans, control and monitor performance, avoid information overload. Okay. So what are the key objectives? First is to establish and disseminate goals. Communicate the mission, vision, and long-term goals of the organization. Ensure that all employees understand the overall direction and purpose of the business. Create a sense of shared purpose and alignment. Develop and share plans. Enables collaboration between departments and teams. Facilitates the sharing of strategies, action plans, and implementation schedules. Encourages coordination and clarity during the planning process. Control and monitor performance. So are the major four key objectives that you need to remember about communication. Will communication want you to establish and disseminate goals? Yes. Would it want you to develop and share plans? Yes. In the context of uh, management in general, would it want you to control and monitor performance? Sure, through feedback evaluation and avoid information overload. These are generic topics. Just you need to connect these to communication. Moving ahead, effective written communication. What is effective written communication? It is the skill of conveying ideas, information, or instructions clearly and concisely through writing. It is crucial in academic, professional, and everyday settings where the reader must understand the message without verbal interaction. Clarity. Use simple and direct language. Avoid jargon unless the audience is familiar with it. Clarity. Avoid jargon. Okay, so we want to communicate effectively on this live stream, so we'll follow these steps, although it is just for written, but still. Clarity, use simple and direct language. Yes, this can be done in oral communication too. We will use simple and direct language. Brevity. The first point is clarity, use simple and direct language. The second point is brevity. Be concise, remove unnecessary words or repetitive information. Okay. Correct grammar and punctuation. Okay. Logical structure, editing and proofreading. After you're done, yes. Appropriate tone and language. Yes. Purpose driven writing. Stay focused on your main message or objective throughout. Benefits, enhances credibility, improves understanding, and reduces the chance of miscommunication. Sure. Next, formal communication channels. Types of formal communication. Downward. That means the flow of communication in an organization is downward. So this means the message is first, what to be said or what is to be conveyed is decided by senior management, and it is conveyed to middle management, then to the lower management employees. So downward communication flows from high levels, top management, supervisors to low levels, employee subordinates, provide instruction, feedback, policies, tasks. So generally any instructions, feedback, policies or task or performance information is passed through this method. Examples are memos, policies and procedures, job assignments, performance evaluation, companies matter. Upward communication, as you can understand from in an organization from the lower branches to the top. So for employees, information that flows in the form of advice or improvements from the employees to the supervisors, which conveyed to the top management. Flows from low level to high levels, typically from employees to managers, offers feedback, share concern, report progress, and suggest reports for employees, employee surveys, grievances and complaints, performance feedback, suggestion for improvement. Horizontal or lateral, neither top, neither bottom. It could be, let's say, uh, senior management informing the board of directors or their investors about how about the annual reports that they have to publish if they are a listed company. That can be lateral communication. That can be lateral communication. Communication between individuals at the same organization level or team meetings, cross department collaboration, emails between colleagues, project updates, coordination of tasks, and external communication occurs between the organization and external shareholders. My mistake. Uh, the sharing of reports to uh, stakeholders will come under external communication, not under lateral communication. Lateral is the same level to employees, to managers, or to um, colleagues in the board of directors. So that would be horizontal. We know external. Advantages of formal communication. Okay, clear and accuracy, correct. Accountability, consistency, legal protection, ethical decision making. Yeah, these are all correct. So, but disadvantages is slower communication, limited flexibility, risk of misinterpretation, information overload. So this is done. Communication barriers. What are the different barriers that can hinder communication? There will be uh, multiple barriers. Let's go one by one. Okay. The first is physical or spatial barriers. Physical barriers refer to environments, factors, or conditions that impede the transmission of a message. This include noise, distance, or any physical obstruction that disrupt communication. Example, poor acoustics or loud background noises, a busy office or street, physical distance between people, poor lighting or technical issues with communication equipment. Physical barriers refer to environmental factors or conditions that impede the transmission of physical message. These include noise, distance, or any physical obstruction that disrupt communication. Acoustics or loud background noise. Organization barriers. Organize. Physical barriers refer to environmental factors or conditions that impede the transmission of a message. These include noise, distance, physical obstruction that disrupt communication, poor acoustics, loud background, physical distance between people, poor lighting or technical issues, communication equipment. Okay. Next comes organizational barriers. These barriers arise within organization due to factors like communication hierarchy, ineffective structure, and lack of resources. Organization communication can be hampered when there is lack of proper channels. Protocols for sharing information, complex change of command where information is distorted or lost as it moves up or down the chain. Poor management that does not prioritize clear communication with employees, lack of proper tools, platforms for sharing effectively. Psychological barriers are mental emotional factors that affect how individuals interpret messages. These barriers often arise from a person's emotional state, mental health, or personal bias. Stress or anxiety, prejudices or stereotypes, premature evaluation, poor retention, lack of resilience, emotional factors that affect how individuals interpret messages. These psychological barriers are how mental or emotional factors affect how individuals interpret from a person's emotional state or mental health or personal bias, stress or anxiety. If someone is feeling stressed, they may not pay full attention to what is being said or may misinterpret the message. If a person has preconceived beliefs about the communicator, it can affect how they process the message. This happens when individuals judge or evaluate a message before fully understanding or listening, causing misunderstandings. If the receiver cannot retain or remember the information conveyed, communication breaks down. If there is a lack of trust or confidence between the sender and the receiver, it creates barriers to effective. Like anger, fear, or happiness can cloud judgment and make communication barrier. Semantic barriers. Semantic barriers occur when the meaning of word or phrase is unclear, ambiguous, or misinterpreted. This can happen when individuals use different interpretation of words or phrases, leading to confusion. Words with multiple meaning bank can refer to a financial institution or side of a river, lack of clarity in message. This is also, as we saw in the previous one, brevity was mentioned. Uh, be concise, remove. No, it is clarity. Use simple and direct language, avoid jargon unless the audience is familiar with it. If we have covered communication barriers, semantic misunderstanding due to words, psychological because of one's emotional or physical state, stress, anxiety, stereotypes, premature evaluation, poor retention, lack of reliance, organizational barriers within the organization, communication hierarchies ineffective or the structure is not correctly set or lack of resources. So, and physical spatial barriers, the literal physical barriers that are there. You're communicating with someone over a long distance, they might hear some word not so clear with not so clarity and that might cause issues or poor lighting or like acoustic or loud background noise you cannot communicate effectively. And the other type of barriers that are also there but not included are information overload, attitudinal barriers, technological barriers, non-verbal barriers, cultural barriers, social barriers, and language barriers. You can understand most of them are self-explanatory in this case. Now we move to decision making. Decision making, operational structure and design, managerial founding, economics, then demand analysis. Okay, so what is decision making? Decision making involves the process of identifying problems and opportunities and resolving them. Decision making is best understood as a process, not just a one-time event. It involves identifying a problem or opportunity, gathering information, evaluating alternatives, choose the best course of action, implementing and reviewing the action. Decision making is best understood as a process, not as a one-time event. It involves identifying a problem, gathering information, evaluating alternatives, choose the best course of action, and implementing the action. So, if you see the options, if these five options I was to give you jumbled and ask, give me the correct sequence of these, you can identify. You can see that they follow. They are built upon one another. The first will always be you will try to identify a problem. Then whether you will evaluate the alternative or gather information, you will gather information. Then because you are gathering information, you will see there are multiple alternatives to solve this. You will then evaluate the alternatives which is the best for you, where minimum input is required and maximum output can be achieved. What is the easiest path? After that you will choose, you will after evaluation you will choose the best course of action, and if you implement it then reviewing is required. So you can see how it flows. Also in UGC NET examination, the options that are present, they are very like simple. So it will not be so tough even if you understand. Yeah, okay, identifying a problem as or opportunity is first part, or implementing and reviewing will be the last part. Out of five, even if you identify like one or two, you can say options, their correct placement, and mostly they will be at extreme, because in the middle you cannot say this comes before that. It is easy to identify the extreme positions. So in general, if you identify the start and the stop, then it the options given in UGC NET examination are not so tough. You will be able to easily identify the correct answer. Then decision making is a process of selecting the best course of action from multiple alternatives to achieve a desired outcome. Okay, so these are all the options: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. First, rational decision making. Logical, step by step, evaluates all alternatives. Objective, thorough, maximizes outcome. Time consuming, assumes full information, structures problems with clear data. So rational decision making, logic, step by step, and it evaluates all options. Where can be this best used? It can be used best in schools, because the questions are closed ended and they have given you all the information at hand. In the real world, when you try to solve problems, or let's say do any task, any decision you need to take regarding to family or a business, there is no, like, no one gives you all the information first of all. And yeah, logic also takes a little backseat. So you see, this can be very good. This is very much helpful in closed, or not open-ended question. It's very good in closed questions, meaning all the information in present, and there is one way, at least one way to solve the problem. Also, this can be used as a decision, like you can understand why. If then in such cases, let's say a person who scores highly in school doesn't necessarily mean he will score high in life in other aspects. Why? Because all the questions they are asking are close-ended question. They are saying logically there is a correct answer. They are giving you all the information required in school, and they are asking you to solve the question. And they do this for, they give you a training of this from your early age up until your teenage. So you have been trained to think like that. But yeah, eventually when you go out in the real world, you realize that is not the case. So how do we bridge it? There is, however, one solution. You need to realize that the real world examples are not like this, but you can convert the real world examples into the open-ended questions to closed questions. How you do this? Suppose you want to start a business. Now what to do? There is no information, you have nothing. So now you need to ask, how to, I want to start a business is like a big domain. Now you narrow it down by asking questions. Okay, which domain I want to do the business in? Now how to decide that? What things I'm good at, in which domain am I good at, so that I can do business in that domain. So you will identify five. Okay, from these five domains, which domains I would like to pursue, I have most knowledge, or I am ready to learn about it. So you see, open-ended question is like, what business should I do? You convert that into closed-ended question, in the sense you ask small questions and take it step by step, so that you can decide. Okay, the more narrow the question it will become, the more information, like you will have to answer it, less information overload. So that is where we come to the next step: bounded rationality. What it means: limited information and cognitive capacity. You have limited information, you do not have all the information, and you do not have all the thinking power in the world, so you can evaluate all alternatives. Like if I say I want to start a business in the cooking industry, so many different things I can do. I can start a hotel, I can start supplying of items like ketchup or so packets also to everyone, or I can start a thela, you say, a stall, or there are so many options. I can do hotel management course. I can start in collaborate with celebrities or other recognized people to start a business with them in the hotel restaurant business. So you see, there are so many information, you cannot evaluate everything and everyone. So bounded rationality says you will have limited information and cognitive capacity. You have to take the best decision based on these two. So this is a realistic approach, may miss the best or better alternatives, but this is real world routine decision with constraints. So you once you can understand are capable for bounded rationality. Who's capable for rational decision making? Maybe AI they can evaluate, but still they don't have right now because they are bound and they do not have access to the internet. They are not freely open, so they are still they can also only make bounded rationality answers. Intuitive decision making based on gut feeling and experience. Oh. So fast, efficient in certain conditions. Everyone has a gut feeling for everything. So it may be subjective, may lead to bias. But yeah, intuitive decision making is one of the decision making models because humans' intuitions are very strong and they can be trusted in most scenarios. Garbage can model, random mix of problem solutions and participants, reflects chaotic real life decision environments and unpredictable lacks rational structure. Ambiguous or loosely structured organization. Random mix of problem solutions and participants. Garbage can model. Random mix of problem solutions and participants reflects chaotic real life decision environment. Political decision making. Influenced by power, you can understand political decision making. We don't need to discuss. You can read it. Addresses hidden agendas and interests can lead to conflict or manipulation. Large firm government to political setting. Incremental decision making, small gradual changes rather than bold decision. Low risk, flexible, adaptive, melee. So suppose you have started a company. Now you are doing business in let's say uh, produce. Okay, your company produces vegetables and then you sell it. Now what is incremental decision making is you can decide to, let's say you now have a different view. You say we want to promote healthy living because there is a large as India's GDP is growing, per capita income is growing. I want to target the people who are conscious about what they eat, so I want to grow organic vegetables now. So one thing you can do is directly shift, like stop the production of normal vegetables, or otherwise you can choose incremental decision making where you take low risk. You say, okay, 10% of my money finance will now go to producing organic vegetables, and slowly you increase that percentage based on the response that you get. So that is incremental decision making. It is low risk and flexible and adaptive. Even if it doesn't work out, it doesn't put a very big dent in your business. It may lack innovation or vision, and yeah, it is complex evolving situations. Participative group decision involves team or stake collaboration. Diverse input, better acceptance, time consuming, potential for groupthink when consensus and buy-in are important. So next mark is complete. So we now go into detail into rational decision making, bounded rationality, and garbage can. Okay, and then decision making style and decision making bias. So rational decision making was first formalized by Herbert A. Simon in 1940s. Simon, a prominent psychologist, economist, and political scientist. It was so good in old days that one person can have multiple professions. Introduced the model as part of his work on decision making process in organization. He proposed that decision making should be a logical and systematic process that follows a series of clear steps where the decision maker evaluates all alternatives based on set of criteria. Herbert Simon's work was foundational in the field of decision theory, and he was awarded the Nobel Prize in Economics in 1978 for his pioneering research on decision making and organizational theory. Assumptions of the rational decision making model: clear and well defined problems. The problem to be solved is clearly understood, well structured, leaving ambiguity about decision making problems. The problem to be solved is clearly understood and well structured, leaving little ambiguity about the decision making process. Assumptions about rational decision making. We remember rational decision making. You have all the information and you know all, you evaluate all the alternatives and then decide. So clear and well-defined problem, complete information, obviously objective evaluation of alternatives. That means no bias, no feelings, no emotion, no psychology, like a robot. Objective evaluation of alternatives would be preferred. An agreed upon goal. There is clear and shared understanding of the objective or goal to be achieved, and this goal remains consistent throughout the decision making process. Logical and systematic process. The decision making process is, is methodical and follows a structured sequence with each step carefully considered to arrive at the most optimum solution. High level of certainty regarding environment. The environment in which the decision is made is predictable, and the decision makers can anticipate outcomes of their choices with a high level of certainty. This can only happen if you have all the information, all the required information, which rarely happens in real world scenarios. Maximization of outcome. The decision maker aims to select the alternative that maximizes benefits or achieves the best possible outcome based on the available information. Rational decision making. The decision maker is assumed to be fully rational, making decisions that are entirely logical and are based on factual analysis with no emotional influence. No time or resources. It is assumed that the decision maker has sufficient time, resource, and capacity to gather all the necessary information, evaluate alternatives, and make the best choice without any limitation. The rational decision making model is a structured and logical approach that decision making that involves a series of clear steps to arrive at the best possible solution. Identify the problem, gather information, identify alternatives, evaluate alternatives, make a decision, implement decision, evaluate the outcome. This, if you can see, is the same steps as we studied at the start. That is the summary of introduction to decision making. Just the 5 steps are broken down into 8 steps. This is good. This is also complete. So you see, once you know the general idea, okay, rational decision making means this, you can have a very good idea about, let's say, objectives or other features of the theory. Bounded rationality. We learned that there is not perfect information available in the world. People will have limited information and limited cognitive capacity. Limited cognitive capacity meaning they can evaluate only a certain number of alternatives. So based on these two, they will decide that which decision is best based on these two constraints. This again was proposed by Herbert A. Simon in 1957. Humans are not perfectly rational. It took almost 15 years, more than 15 years to come up with this theory after the initial theory, you can see. So humans are not perfectly rational in reality. Decision makers face limited time, information, and mental capacity, so they cannot evaluate every option. Instead, they choose the first satisfactory solution, a concept known as satisfying, a mix of safe, satisfying, and suffice. Key features: decisions are made under constraints, time, data, cognitive limits. Alternatives are not evaluated. Alternatives are not all evaluated, but only few are considered. The goal is adequacy, not perfection. A manager hiring for a role quickly picks a candidate who is good enough instead of reviewing every possible applicant. A manager hiring for a role quickly prefers a candidate who is good enough instead of reviewing the best person. This is a very good example of a bounded rationality approach which should be followed. You save time, energy, and also the efforts required on both ends, and it is favorable for everyone. Instead of a person, you putting in time going through the whole week, 10 applications per day to 70 100 applications over the week. If you find a suitable candidate within the first 10 uh, interviews, you just take your decision. But what might happen in many scenarios is, like in large MNCs, people will still have to go through all the rounds of MNCs, all the round of interviews, and so on and so on. Also, one more tactics used by large MNCs, if you'll see that they use is, even though if they don't have vacancy, they'll put up a post for vacancy for two reasons. One, whoever applies, they make the database of all the persons who have applied, so later on they can refer to them and use the resources whenever required, like that. That is first. That's why in MNCs you will see, even there, if there is no vacancy, post will always be up for vacancies, that apply, apply, apply. And the second, other organization, other the very large MNCs in every country, they dictate the outcome of possible outcome of like what the future financially is, and their impact is very large on the GDP in the country that they are. They have very big impact. They employ a large number of people of the country that they have offices in. So what they do is, why they keep this practice of keeping vacancies open even if there is no vacancy is, other organizations, other firms might keep an eye on it and report. Let's say if any big company, top 10 in the stock market company of India, you go and see which are their public list. Think if any one of them stops hiring, or gives out a statement, we will not hire right now. Every year, let's say we used to take 1000 employees from colleges, now we are not hiring, we stopped. What will happen is, it will directly become instant head news that this company has stopped hiring, whether it is there is economic stagflation or economic stagnancy, or all news, they will, all negative impact, they will be associated with all the negative impacts. So people prefer to keep hiring large MNCs just to keep up with this. So there is no bad publicity about their company, so they have to keep it. But yeah, this is a better uh, example of real world, which should be done ideally, but even this is hard to follow, as you can see by the scenarios that develop. This is hard to follow even if you are like interviewing in an MNC. Garbage can mod approach proposed by Cohen, March and Olsen, 1972. Core ideas: in a complex or loosely structured organization, decisions do not follow a linear rational process. Instead, problem, solution, people, and choices float around independently. They're items in a garbage can, and sometimes they collide randomly to form a decision. Decisions are often made by chance or coincidence, not logic. Organized anarchy and clear problems, fluid participants, shifting priorities. This can be understood during your when you apply for colleges after the exams, based after your exams are over. Let's say you have given a competitive exam, now you're trying to take admission in one of the colleges. You apply to all the colleges. So there are many different parameters that come into play. One is how much marks have you scored. A second, in the written examination. Second, which colleges have you applied to, what is the rank of them, what other people have applied to, what are the criteria that the people are looking to select from the institutions. So there are many such factors that come into play, and depending on how it plays out, maybe you have scored in everything good, but at a personal interview round you do not do so good, and so you are not selected. So but personal interview round, you do written examination, you scored very low, but you just passed. But then personal round you do amazingly well, and they are very much impressed by your presentation and they want to select you. So you can see how a combination of every possible parameter option in different scenarios can lead to your selection or rejection of the college. Organized anarchy, unclear problems, fluid participants, shifting priorities, emphasizes the. Let's say you wanted one of the colleges which was your top priority. Now all the seats are filled. Shifting priorities. Now what will you do? Which one will you prefer next? So that is one option. Example: a company buys a new software tool not because it was needed, but because someone happened to propose it during a budget surplus meeting. You see, they didn't really need it, budget surplus. What should we do? We should buy a new photocopier, or let's say a new software tool to use. So it depends on the situation. The organization has ambiguous goals. There is high uncertainty or chaos. Decisions appear disconnected. So garbage can is basically sort of contingency theory which we studied in management foundation. uh, any like yeah, based on the situation, what if or what is happening, based on that you have to decide. Next, we'll go to decision making styles. So this one is important, decision making styles. In any organization or personal context, the way individuals make decisions can significantly influence outcome. Decision making styles refer to the habit of patterns or approaches that individuals use when faced with choices. These styles are shaped by two key factors: tolerance for ambiguity, way of thinking. Using these dimensions, we get four primary decision making styles. One is tolerance for ambiguity, uncertainty. Ambiguity is just big word for uncertainty. Low uncertainty, high uncertainty. Way of thinking, intuitive, rational. Rational means more logical, okay? And intuitive is gut feeling, let's say, you can say. So we have decoded the decision making style. Now we'll see. If you have tolerance for ambiguity, low uncertainty, and you have low uncertainty, correct? And high logic, that means directive style, okay? Focuses on short-term goal and structure style, makes quick decision, minimal information, prefers rules, procedures, and routine. Managers who value control, efficiency, and low risk, because ambiguity is less. You know, you can evaluate all the options and you are thinking very logically. So directive, what is correct, okay? We'll go to the other end directly. You do not, your thinking mode is not very logical but very intuition, and there are ambiguity, uncertainty is very high, so it goes to the conceptual stage, you can see. These types could be professions such as artists or like say researchers, even in physics field. What they are at the boundary, there is very high uncertainty about uh, what could be pursued in their domains, and their thinking is less logical, more intuitive from gut, so conceptual. They can come up with new ideas, whether it be in the type of songs they make, or come up with new uh, theory, try to progress some theories, come up with new intention, and new they come up with new hypotheses or theories and test if it is correct or wrong. So for that you need conceptual intuition. So tolerance, yeah. Visionaries, you see, strategic thinkers, creative leaders all come in this. They are comfortable with risk and innovation, and they use creativity and brainstorming. So focus is a long-term vision. Now we'll come to one each. Okay. Now let's say there is very high ambiguity, very high uncertainty, but still you are a logical thinker. So it is analytical. Because in directive there is less uncertainty, and less certainty means you know all the options and you are the most logical thinker. You will say, I've evaluated all the options and this is the correct answer. Do this. This is the best for the organization. So that's why directive. Even if you are a logical thinker, you see you have cognitive capacity high, but ambiguity is very high. So uh, which we saw previously uh, in this model. Let me check. Yeah, you see here, limited information and limited cognitive capacity will lead to bounded rationality. But if you are logical and evaluate all options, then it is rational decision making. These are the two parameters. Information means uncertainty. If you have all the information, uncertainty is low. If you have less information, uncertainty is high. Correct. So if you have low ambiguity means low uncertainty, which means all the information, and you are very logical, you know exactly out of all the options what is the correct answer. So that's why you need to be directive, that I know the correct answer, this is the one, follow this in an organization. Now if there are too many options, even though you are logical, but there are too many options, so there is a limit to, you are limited by your cognitive ability, how many options you can evaluate. So you are going for the best possible based on your cognitive ability. So that will become analytical. Gather and analyze large amount of data which is correct but considers multiple information. Logical and data individuals who enjoy solving complex problems methodically. And the behavioral, there is very low options in uncertainty. You have all the information, but you are less logical and more gut feeling type of person. So Strong focus on people and relationship. These people who don't have high logic, but they have then more intuition, means they are good with dealing with see, logical part. You are very good at making logical decisions, very much required. Like uh, there are two aspects. Either if you have very high logic, that means you can deduce stuff and follow a logical chain of thought. That means you have generally sort of low intuition, in the sense inherently by default. Okay, if you are very highly logical, very highly likely you would, or you wouldn't have such good intuitions about how people behave or what people do, because you in the world you have observed more on theories and other stuff. You are more surrounded by ideas which are logical in nature. Hence, you have grown up with a mindset which is highly rational or highly intuitive. But whatever mindset you grow up with in life, you can always learn the other and thereby develop a very high EQ, emotional quotient. So if you have very high intuition and less, let's say, logic, you should always work in a field where people are involved, because then you have very strong grasp on people and relationships. Because ultimately humans are not rational beings. So if you are even though you are highly logical and you expect A should lead to B, because people are not rational, or they work on emotions in general, the whole species, then it will happen that you might be unable to decode what actually is the motive or context or the underlying tone or whatever. But if you have high intuition, you can understand all that. So seeks team input and values consensus, avoids conflict and promotes harmony. Supportive managers and team focused individuals. Understanding these four decision making styles, direct, analytical, conceptual, behavior. This is very important. Remember this. Like these two parameters, ambiguity, that is another word for information. More information, less. High ambiguity, high uncertainty. It means it's too much information. Cannot evaluate all the options. Like too many options to evaluate. Low tolerance for ambiguity. That means we prefer low uncertainty, which means we are able to evaluate all the options. Way of thinking is cognitive power versus um, information. Okay, ambiguity versus way of thinking. Mark is complete. And last topic of decision making, biases. What are different biases we can come across? There are four we have discussed. There are many that can be listed. First, we come across anchoring bias. So anchoring bias occurs when an individual relies too heavily on initial piece of information when decision making. Always remember, in any negotiation, always try to price. If you get, suppose you are negotiating with someone and you are sitting on the negotiator, always try to get, always try to that you put the initial price, and depending on if you're buying or selling, put very high or very low. Okay, so always be the first person to put a price tag, I would say, whether buying or selling. Get the a chance. Never like prefer to tell person. Okay, let's read this. Anchoring bias occurs when an individual relies too heavily on the initial piece of information. That is called the anchor. When making decisions, even if the anchor is irrelevant or arbitrary, this information serves as a reference point and influences subsequent judgments. So what this means, anchoring bias. If you see a jacket priced at 500, then see another one priced at 300, you may perceive the second jacket as a good deal, even though 300 might still be more than what you would normally pay for a jacket. The initial price of 500 serves as an anchor. This is very, very, very highly important. You see, anchors are used everywhere. Suppose you go to a restaurant. Next time you go to a restaurant, see that in every section, like section, starter section, main menu, or dessert, you always see that the first options in every sections are the highest priced items. Suppose in starters they will put sizzler as 1000 rupees at the top, and below they will put some other starters which are like 300, 400. You will start with 1800, then you will feel, you go move down the line. Okay, you feel I'm getting 1000 for what? um, Starters, sizzler for 1000. Okay, I'll take one plate of um, chicken wings for 300 rupees. You see, that's how it works. Or even in sale, they put it as 4,000, cut the price and put 2,500. You think, oh, this, if I don't come in sale, if I come normally, it will be 4,000 rupees. That's the thing. But pers if you like say you are going as a salary negotiation, or you are buying a house, or you have gone to buy in your local market a shirt or clothes, whatever, I would say always prefer to put the anchor first. Take the chance to put the anchor first. Okay. If let's say you're buying a house, he says, well, like, see, buying a house depends. If you're buying a flat in a society and they have put up boards 1 BHK for 40 lakhs, they have put the first anchor, so you can see where the negotiation will be. But if you are going, let's say, to buy a plot of land or a bungalow in a place like some place in rural areas, no anchor, you can put the anchor, you see. So do that. If you see jacket priced at, always try to put your anchor first, because the other person will put an anchor around where he's. If let's say I'm a seller, I know the shirt cost me 200 rupees. Okay, I will purposely put the anchor at 800. Now, why will I do that? Out of 100 people, even if 80 people know the correct price and they say, okay, we will buy in 300, 400, they will buy. But the 20% or 10% population, there is a chance I might get who will buy it around 800, which is 700, 600. So it is always preferable for me as a seller to price it high. Even if you know the correct price, you will buy, like, bargain or prefer to buy it at the correct price, and you will. But there will be people who will just come and buy it, so I get a big margin there. That's why it is always, you see why it is in favor of seller to always price it high. Similarly, as an individual and you're going to buy, try to put the first price by yourself. Okay, when you go to buy a shirt, don't ask how much it is, how much is it. Say I will pay 300 for this, and then let that person bargain you. Let that person raise the anchor. Instead of that person saying 1000, he has put the anchor at 1000. Now you need to reduce it through negotiation. You have to put efforts, ki no, this is not this much, we want better. Okay, what value are you giving? And all, either you have to bring down the anchor or you have to justify that anchor. Okay, what value are you providing? Okay, either you will say, no, this is not this much, I have bought for this much, I have bought from you previously, whatever, and try to bring the anchor down. Or second, if you value, if second thing you can do, okay, what value does it provide, you can ask them. Okay, but then you will be justifying the anchor. So always try to put it, and if you put the anchor first, this is, I'll give 300, 400 for this. Okay, what will can he do? He will try to raise the anchor. Oh, this is not, this is high quality, this doesn't come much, this is last lot, or you don't know the price, this is not valued so much, I cannot give in though so much. So you see, he has to raise the anchor. Or he might directly, you give him 400, he might give you 1000, and then whoever comes, that might happen. But he will try to raise the anchor. It is on him. So remember, anchoring bias in decision making, and it's important because, or you go to negotiate your salary, how much, 18 to 21, let's say. The person says you applied for the role, it was for 18 to 21 LPA. Now the HR is dealing. You have cleared the technical rounds. He asks, how much are you expecting? Don't say 18, don't say 20, 21. Say, I'm expecting 26 LPA. So what he will say, but did you see uh, did you see the job description when you were applying? This was for 18 to 21 LP. Then you say confident. You can say, you can say two things. You can first, one is spicy reply, which will not get you anywhere. You can say like, so if you knew that that is the range, why are you asking me that how much I want? I would want as much as I can. You tell me how much are you going to give, prefer to spend. So that is one way. No, big no. Okay. The second way, how you use that is, see, I believe I have, see, I believe in myself. I know I'm worth that much. That's why, even though it was for 18 to 20 and 1 LP, I was sure after you see my value, you will be ready to uh, spend that much. And as you can see, I've cleared all the interview rounds. It means I am a suitable candidate, and I bring much more to the table than compared to the other individuals. So that's why I prefer 25 LP, and then let them bring down the anchor or let them reject or whatever. It's up to them. Also, this might backfire, okay? If they have another candidate, suitable candidate, and they go for that, we saw bounded rationality approach, they might go with the candidate who's most suitable. They might prefer to go with him, but yeah, that's a risk you take. Decision making always comes with some risk and yeah, some information, and you have decision, cognitive ability, those three things. Escalation of commitment, sunk cost fallacy. Okay, sunk cost. It occurs when people continue to invest in decision or project despite it being clear that it is falling or not yielding positive outcomes. This happens because people are reluctant to admit failure or feel they may justify previous investment. A company keeps pouring money into a failing product because they are already invested millions in its development rather than cutting their losses and discontinuing it. So you can understand escalation of commitment. Sunk cost fallacy. Even if you have realized it is wrong, you just keep putting value in it because why not? And this is a very big bias for humans. Once they are committed, they keep on putting more and more efforts into even if it is failing. But if they let go, if they let go of this bias, very good outcomes can be achieved because then you are able to move fast. But then also to succeed in some scenarios, you need to stick. So my take on this is, yeah, neither too strong, neither too weak. A confirmation of bias. Confirmation bias is the tendency to search or interpret focus on information that confirms one's pre-existing beliefs or hypotheses, while giving less consideration to information that contradicts those beliefs. If someone believes that a specific diet is effective, they might only seek out success stories or studies that support that diet while ignoring case studies. This is true. One part of confirmation bias that I have seen. Okay, one is the red meat diet. One theory is there that if you uh, just eat red meat, no plants, no crops, no vegetables, then it's very good for you and you get so many benefits of eating. Your health becomes better and everything. And that is one thing I've observed, that people that there is information out there. Carnivore diet, they say it as yeah, I was searching for the word carnivore diet. You only eat red meats and other types of non-vegetarian products, eggs, dairies. Dairy also I'm not sure, but yeah, fish, eggs, meat, poultry, and everything. And they say it helps in improving your health, you live longer, and other studies which is. But I have also seen the other side. I have seen other researches where like a person eating only vegetarian diet has surpassed 100 years of age, is taking part in runs. So I've seen both the sides. Like even if there is theories or beliefs or whatever, I have seen videos that people testifying that they are just eating veg and they are having good life and everything, no issue of protein, nothing. And I've seen the other part also, people saying we eat only non-veg and everything will be good. So it depends on confirmation bias, whichever side you are supporting. It very well might happen that you will only believe that specific diet is effective. You might only seek out success stories or studies that support that diet and ignoring others. Now comes the hindsight bias. Hindsight bias, often called as I knew it all along. Confirmation, okay, confirmation bias is this one. Refers to the tendency for people to believe after an event has occurred that they would have predicted the outcome. People perceive the outcome as being more predictable than it actually was before it happened. After a football team loses a game, fans might claim that they know the team was going to lose, even though before the game they were full about their chances. This, yeah. A very real example of this would be in the scenarios, let's say, of a business or even a family. Let's say you have a very large business or you have a very big family. Now, whoever is making the decision at that time, everyone is, let's say, depending on him, that he will take the right decision. But if the decision doesn't happen in their favor, they're so used to the leader making the right decision that when the decision doesn't work in his favor, they might think, oh, I could have done better, I would have done this, I would have done that. They are missing the why this is happening is like before they used to trust because it was winning, winning, winning. Now it's not winning, so they think because the trust has gone down, so they think they might be able to better predict. Okay, they think the leader which previously they were following is not good enough, that he would have selected this option. Understand? But the actual reality could be that the leader also knew about that situation, but there were other important decisions like scenarios that needed to be dealt with, right, at that time. So he took care of those first, which led to delay of this. So hindsight bias happens. I knew it all along. Okay. So these are all the four biases we discussed. Hindsight bias, I knew it all along. Or let's say even in school examples, an exam, a teacher sets a very tough exam. Okay, you are studying for it, hoping you will pass, but if you fail, majority of the class fail, you say, I knew it all along. We knew this paper we are going to fail because the sir is very tough, he already told us so. But you were still preparing on hoping to pass while preparing for the exam. You weren't like, okay, I'm going to fail, so I'm not studying. Your actions were not in the in towards failing. Your actions were trying to pass. Okay, but once you, let's say majority of class feel, okay, that teacher failed us, it was tough paper, he told us before, many people fail in his class and all, so that is also inside bias. So we have completed this. So we have completed decision making in total. So now let us go for, we have around 5 to 6 minutes, so let us, we'll start organization structure and design tomorrow. That is the last topic under management foundations. Then we'll have to start with managerial economics foundations, so which is good. We'll go to ultimate quiz. We studied so much almost, so this unit is made up of two topics, you see. um, Foundations of management, business management basically is the first topic. The second topic is managerial foundations, managerial economics, and business management. Two topics are covered under one unit. Now let's do it. First mover advantage. Okay, which of the following first mover? King of demand is not. I believe it is Stackelberg or Cornut. First mover. First mover I would say is Cornut, and it is Stackelberg. We'll study this ahead. No worries. So we'll start again. This we've seen yesterday. Frederick W. Taylor started as a clerk in Midvale but advanced to senior supervisor in 1880, and supervisor. See, here we see in 1877, Frederick W. Taylor started as a clerk in Midvale. Advanced to foreman. This is wrong. He advanced to foreman. Scientific management is a theory of management that analyzes and synthesizes workflows. Taylor began his theory development within manufacturing business. Taylor began the theory's development in the United States within manufacturing industry. This is true. So we'll just which is not correct. And again, we did a rookie mistake. This is a very bad mistake. It asked which is not correct. We went for which is correct. Rookie mistake. So we'll start again. Which of the following statements pertaining to interference curve is true? This we did yesterday, I think. D is definitely wrong. Wherever is D, the answer is not D. A and E or A and B. You see, indifference curve intersect each other at their midpoint. This cannot happen. We'll discuss ahead in the introduction to managerial economics. But they cannot intersect. So D is wrong answer. So you see the option A first and option 4 are out. It is A and E or A and B. A is definitely correct. Okay, the slope of indifference curve represents the margin area between two points. Now either E is correct or B is correct. Let's read this. In case of perfect substitutes, the indifference curve is linear. Indifference curve in case of perfect substitute is a straight line with a positive slope. This is true. It is linear. See, both out of both, one is false because we have to select the correct answer. It was not given A, B, and E. One of those has to be false. Now, indifference curve in and both are talking about the same thing. Perfect substitute. Substitute is a straight line with a positive slope. Straight line means linear. Linear means straight line in terms of graph. So this is saying in case of perfect substitute, difference indifference curve is linear. It is saying the curve is linear with positive slope. If I say this is true, this will become true by default. If I say B is true, that means E is also true, which is not the case here. There is no option. If I select AB, I am saying E is false, but it cannot be. So the answer is A and E. You see why I say the options, you have to think about it and decide and find the answer. For market equilibrium, okay, QD is the equation for demand. This is the demand at any given point where P is the price, and this is the supply available at any given point where P is the price. So at market equilibrium, they are asking at equilibrium supply is equal to demand. So we have to find the price for which supply is equal to demand. Equilibrium means supply is equal to demand. You equate both 30p minus 3p is equal to 20p plus 2p. I'll just try to do it. We'll bring 30p minus 3p is equal to 20 plus 2p. I have keeping it both between is equal to sign. This is 30. Okay. Now send 20 there. So 10 minus 3p is equal to 2p. Send 3p there. 10 is equal to 5p. 10 is equal to 5p. 5. Send that side. P is equal to 10 upon 5 is equal to 2. 2 20. Again we'll do 30 minus 3p, 20 plus 2p. 20 that side, 50. And mine 20 is that side, yeah, 50. And p we send that side, 5p. 50 is equal to 5p it is. So 50 divided by 5, price is, okay, price is 50 divided by 5 is 10. Price is 10 for the equilibrium, price is 10. What is equilibrium demand? Put P is equal to 10 in QD. So it will be or QS because both are equal. Put that value of price into one of the equations. You'll find the demand and supply. And because it is equilibrium, the quantity of supply and demand will be same. Any one equation will put 20 plus 2p. So 2 p is equal to, we found 10. 2 tens are 20 plus 20, 40, which is not there. Again, we have done something wrong. Okay, 30 minus 3p, 20 plus 2p, 30, 20. Send that side 10. Send this side 10 is equal to 5p. 10, it is 10 is equal to 5p. So p is equal to 2. P is 2. So we put 20 plus 2 into 2. We found the price to be 2. Price is 2. So the demand or the supply is 24. 20 plus 2 2s are 4. 24. In exam, you get a pencil and pen, so you can use that. So yes. Planning premise we studied. It comes under planning. And what it means, uh, before making a decision, you gather all the alternatives, see what are the different tools available to you to make the decision. That is the planning premises. Once you make a decision, the anticipated outcome is the forecast that we know. So first, planning premises are defined as anticipated environment in which plans are expected to operate. They include assumption or forecast of the future known as conditions that will affect the operations of plan. No distinction should be drawn between forecasts that are planning premises. Forecast can be planning premises, correct? And forecasts that are translated into future usually in final from the actual. This, I would say both are correct. One is correct, statement two is incorrect. We'll look into this. Uh, so, okay. So today we'll keep it at as two, and we'll look into that question. Okay. So we'll go back. to day 6. Day 2, continue studying unit 1. Day 6, and one more task, cover the question. That question, I believe, wasn't so much covered in detail in the planning premise, so we'll try to cover it tomorrow. That is a task for us that we will perform. So that is all for today. We completed the day 6. We'll do for day 7, and then we'll try to revise it, or again we'll try to finish one unit and revise it. Any questions you have, you can put it in the comments below. And yeah, I'll see you tomorrow in day 7 of the